Thanks for joining. Really kind of, I hope everyone finds this session useful. For those that haven't met me before, I'm Sam Chorlton, previously the chair for the Digital Twin Hub, now some form of advisor, pest that they can't get rid of, whichever category you want to put me into, and joined by Ali Nicholl, as the head of engagement. I'll do a proper introduction to Ali in a minute, but just wanted to kind of explain to everyone how today's session and the subsequent sessions that we've got are going to work. So my colleague Alexandra has shared a link in the chat. That's how we're going to be running the Q&A components of this session. Just please feel free to ask anything, and we will do our best to answer it. There is a voting system on there as well, so if we get a lot of questions, then you can upvote, downvote, anything like that, so we can try and work out how to prioritize those questions. We're at a pretty kind of pivotal stage, I think, with the DT Hub at the moment. Not everyone will be aware, but I'm sure some of you are. The DT Hub has been run and operated by the Centre for Digital Built Britain for the last few years. That project is coming to an end at the end of March. So there's been a huge amount of kind of beavering going on behind the scenes to sort out a new home for that. And we are actually able to confirm now that the DT Hub will be transitioning to its new home, which will be an industry catapult partnership housed at the Connected Places Catapult. Don't worry if that doesn't mean a lot to you. We'll be doing sessions to help everyone understand what those new homes look like. But for the actual kind of day-to-day existence of the hub, hopefully the change will be minimal. I will just do a quick shout out to say we have sent out an email about GDPR changes. If anyone wants to continue to be a member of the DT Hub, please make sure that you've completed those, because it is a legal requirement as part of that transition. But anyway, enough of the kind of boring T's and C's piece. Let's kind of get stuck into today's session. So yeah, we've got Ali here with me today, Head of Engagement at IOTICS. Ali, would you be able to just kind of give us a bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So as I say, I'm Ali. Head of Engagement is a slightly euphemistic title for effectively being a cheerleader, both for IOTICS, but more generally for digital twins and the building of data ecosystems between organizations. In terms of what IOTICS does, just very briefly, we enable boundless enterprises. Ultimately, we see that what people are trying to do with the challenges such as sustainability, net zero, and so on ahead of us, that what they need is enabling technology that enables them to securely and selectively share data at scale. So that's what we do. I'm here today, though, because I am the co-chair, as you say, of the DT Hub's Community Council, and I'm passionate about the work the DT Hub is doing and making sure that the incredible membership and organizations involved are getting the most from it, and that we collectively and cooperatively are doing our best to deliver flourishing systems for the UK and beyond.
Thanks, Ali. And I think, yeah, so we've very briefly mentioned the Community Council there. So the Community Council was created, I guess, for one core reason, was that we never wanted the DT Hub to be something that we as kind of staff or as kind of members of the program owned. It is the community that owns that. And as we got to kind of a sufficient point of maturity, we wanted to reflect that with establishing a community council. I mean, Ali, I'm sure it'd be kind of helpful for everyone to understand what was your kind of understanding as to what the community council is and what the kind of the role around that might be.
Sure. So I think it's worth mentioning that this is very nascent. So the community council met for the first time this year, following applications. So that, yeah, there's a recognition that this isn't a fully baked piece that has everything within it. But really, what we recognize is that the community within the DT Hub is incredibly diverse. It's both expansive in terms of numbers and incredibly diverse. You know, there are asset owners, governance, government, academia, service providers, researchers, all coming together. And there has to be a way, as you say, of reflecting that voice. And the community council is 11 people selected from within that, volunteers, but then down selected to 11, who are there really to represent the views of that membership and try and make sure that we are working the way we hope systems work, that we as people are collaborating and cooperating and exploring everything with, as you say, not ever having that kind of school assembly thing of, okay, the staff and the holders, so now the kind of CPC and the Industry Alliance, saying, okay, this is what good looks like, this is what's happening here. We've got this incredibly diverse group of practitioners. How do we best share that information and build on the legacy that the DD Hub has built? I mean, when you look at things like the Gemini calls, for example, those are a fantastic example of members within the community sharing what they're doing, sharing what they've learned, sharing where they're at. The DT Hub website itself is a great place for people to share. And the community council is really, how do we encourage that further? How do we drive that engagement? How do we make sure that everyone is able to share both their successes and their failures to collectively help all of us deliver a better version of what we're trying to achieve?
And what kind of prompted you, Ali, to want to volunteer, as you put it, to be part of that council?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we, over the past few years, and especially over the past year or so, we've seen that alongside the kind of technological aspects of the IMF and the architecture, there's a recognition that this is a socio-technical problem, that delivering on the promise of digital twin, delivering on the promise of digital twin enabled ecosystems isn't just, do we have the right ontologies? Do we have the right systems? There is a really human aspect to that, not only in terms of the benefit and the empowerment, but people need to have their trust evolved. They need to be able to overcome their reservations. We've lived through decades of the standard working practice being, you don't share data, you lock it in a vault, you put it at the bottom of the sea, and you look at it when you need to report on it. And we're trying to change that. So as a result, there has to be a bringing together of the people, and that's really why I wanted to get involved. There's a lot of brilliant activity out there at the moment, but we could be doing more. And in order to do more, we have to take everyone with us, both our colleagues, our partners, our stakeholders. And the only way we'll do that is by being able to talk to each other, to work together, and to point at what people are doing and say, no, look, this is what's working, or this is what isn't working. And as a result, it is completely legitimate of you to be concerned in this space, but this is where best practice is at. So trying to promote that kind of engagement and conversation is really what led me to wanting to step in.
And just kind of looking at the council and the other members, do you think we've managed to reflect that kind of diversity of the community within the membership pool of the community itself, of the council itself? Sorry.
Yeah, I think we have. We've got a broad mix of startups, large companies, consultancies, asset owners. My co-chair Melissa also sits with the ICG, with things like Project 13, because we absolutely shouldn't be drawing a boundary around us and saying, this is us and that's them. So the more that we can have links out to the Alan Turing Institute, the IET, all of which have representation on the community council, it is massive. And the community council isn't a standalone. We also have community champions, who are individuals who, for one reason or another, weren't part of the council, but have expressed the same desire to get involved and help promote and help drive engagement. And I think that when you include, so that's 75-ish people, there's still a few people volunteering, then that's a good chunk of people, a good cross-section of the community as it stands, and hopefully we'll continue to have that cross-section as the community grows and develops.
I mean, that's kind of been one of the things I've really observed over the last couple of years of working on this, is that there is a genuine sense of enthusiasm, passion, whatever you want to call it, amongst the community to see digital twins succeed. And if we go right back to the start, we were really kind of bogged down in semantics, really. People cared more about agreeing on what was or wasn't a digital twin than kind of going, right, let's just park that debate and go, let's just move forward and we can agree that and work it out at a later point in time. Do you feel we've managed to kind of move past that piece as well now?
I do. I think that's a great description. I actually described it internally maybe 18 months ago as that I thought we were coming to the end of the religious wars of digital twin. the kind of you can't have a digital twin unless you first have an asset. No, you could start a digital twin and then get the asset connected to it later. It's like, does it really matter? Like, come on. The long and I'm sure necessary debates about specific wording and live status versus live performance, all of that kind of stuff I think has started to dissipate, partly because of the work of things like the CDBB, the DT Hub, Tech UK, all of these organizations. There is a general consensus that has emerged, I think. I think that helps. But I also think that there's a recognition that the problems that the early advocates recognized that digital twins could help address are now visceral and real for people. And as a result, the kind of theoretical, intellectual purism of how you describe it is much less important than how do we do it? How do we get it out there? How do we make it evolve? It's not going to pop up overnight. We know that this isn't something that's going to pop into existence with granular levels of detail for every single part of every business in every sector. So how do we do it iteratively? How do we move forward? How do we build on what's working? Is very, I'm delighted that there's a few places that we sit on these things and engage. And we are no longer starting every conversation with, does this paper need to have a description up front about how we define a digital twin?
Yeah.
So no, all those resources exist. Quick plug, most of them are available on the DT Hub if you want to go and have a look at 2-3 years of debate about definition. But actually it's kind of like, we know roughly what it is, and now it's how does it deliver? How do we get it? How do we adopt it? How do we prove the business case? How do we show return on investment? How do we take the first steps in making this real for people?
Yeah, I mean, the piece that kind of really, I think, excites me is I think we're just starting to get to the point now where innovation can really start to take hold. And obviously there's always the numbers flout of those digital twins present a multi-billion-dollar industry, which is great. I mean, the numbers always sound really exciting. But what I think is actually exciting is there's going to be really kind of quite specific problems that are going to naturally evolve. Like, I remember talking to one of the asset owners, if your establishment has massive thick concrete walls, Wi-Fi doesn't work. So how do we work out about getting sensors around that problem where it might not be practical to be drilling holes through 0.5 meter thick walls of concrete or whatever? And I'm sure there's some really, really smart people out there that go, oh, we've been thinking about something that would solve that exact problem for years, but never had the kind of the customer there that wanted it. And I think that presents the really exciting time as to when that new industry starts to develop, the innovation starts to grow. And I think, just as you said, that makeup of the Community Council has got startups in there. So there is early indications that innovation is starting to grow. What's your kind of feelings around that kind of innovation sphere at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think the biggest change I've seen over the last 5 years is that innovation is no longer something done in isolation.
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, when people IoT was everywhere and everyone had a IoT innovation director or whatever, every solution was a full stack solution, right? It was, we'll put a device in and then we'll take the data from that device and we'll take it back to our cloud and then we'll build an app for you and then we'll deliver a service back to you. And there you go, that's innovation, and that's a step forward. And don't get me wrong, there was some brilliantly innovative devices and apps and algorithms and all sorts of things. But very rarely, frankly, in any one solution was all of it brilliant and cutting edge, because people are generally brilliant at a thing. Organizations are generally brilliant at a thing. And I think what we're seeing and what we're at the cusp of is the systems, processes, and platforms that enable the brilliance of those individual organizations to come together. So you can have the person who has spent 5 years for a very specific reason, developing an IoT sensor that works perfectly with Faraday cages of concrete and what that does. But they don't also then need to have the application at the other end or the use case. There is someone else who is sat there with that piece saying, oh, hold on, actually, if we can create this abstraction layer where the digital twins of the sensors and my system and my algorithm and so on can all interoperate and interact, well, suddenly no one person needs to have all the answers. And I think we see that everywhere. I think the second piece around the innovation you touched on as well, when speaking about the kind of Gartner XT billion and so on, is that I've seen a real shift from that being about efficiency savings to opportunity and growth. And I think if you look around things like sustainability, I was in a conversation with someone just last week who said that doing the sustainability reporting and compliance for their business per year took them about 6 months to compile, because that data is heterogeneous, it's hidden in lots of systems, it belongs to lots of people, it has lots of different levels of security. Well, you could say, well, great, digital twins is one of the things that will make that easier to report and it will bring it together and so on. But actually what we're starting to see is the opportunity. It's not just we can improve the efficiency of our reporting function. It's that if you could get that data right time, closer to when it's happening, as you need it, to the right people, what opportunities would that give your business beyond ticking a box on compliance, and actually going beyond that in terms of looking at how your business is running, how you can drive towards net zero, how you can deliver new services, how you can deliver new insights. And that's what really excites me, both in my day job and with the DT Hub, is that those visionary solutions, those moments won't come from me or us, but we can enable the people that have the smarts and the vision to actually say, oh, if I could get a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that, what could I make? And I think the last time we saw that was the inflection point of the web, right? Where we went from initially websites, to sell them to people, they were just digital replications of your shop window. Here are my opening times. This is the type of thing I sell. Here's where I'm located. And then suddenly people started saying, well, actually, if we've got all this information, we could build new things that aren't just simply repetition of how we do business as usual today, but actually could be a new business for users, could be new services, could be new solutions, could be new resolutions to challenges that have long vexed us. And I think it really feels like we are just at the cusp of that, in terms of having cleared away those kind of debates about the semantics, started to have some of the enabling technology, and are now at the point of being able to say to people, okay, what do you want to build with it? What's the thing that you're trying to do? Don't worry about needing to have all the pieces. What's the thing you're trying to do? And if you can focus on the what, that and the why, that's where the gold is.
With a completely kind of core set of points there. The thing that I guess almost like perplexes me at the moment, and I guess is one of those slight worries, is we look at what's kind of going on in the world at the moment, whether that's the old 1 in 100 year weather events that seem to be happening every 6 months at the moment, or energy prices climbing and all the stuff that's causing that. We're really in a position that a lot of this technology is needed now, and I know it exists in some silos, but it's not widely adopted at the moment. How do you kind of see that changing, and do you see that the DT Hub and the work that we do on a wider basis can actually ensure that we can have that level of rapidity we need to kind of evolve and adapt to those changing circumstances?
I think the DT Hub plays a key role in that. I mean, it's not about telling people the art of the possible. It's about telling people the art of the now. I mean, we see people whose vision is to tackle those kind of issues, to deal with those kind of issues. And then they look at it and they say, okay, so step one, we've got to start procuring some of this stuff. So what do we know how to procure? We know how to procure data lakes and data catalogs and centralized control of governance. And that's what we know how to, okay. So we'll start with that. And then at some point it will magically become the thing that we have the vision of what it is we need to deliver on. And I think the more the DT Hub can get out there and say, look, there are different foundations you can start from. If you want to build a a multi-level building, you don't start by, you may choose to build it up in levels, but you don't start by saying, right, well, I'll build a wattle and door 1-story house. And then when I want to go to 2, I'll knock it down. I'll put a red brick 2-story house in. And then when I want to go to 3, I'll knock it down. You start by saying, okay, well, I may only build the first floor, but I need foundations for all 5. And I need to make sure that I've got reinforced concrete, or I've got, the girders in place that I need, so that it will be able to hold the requirements of my entire vision. And I think that we can see in what's happening at the DT Hub, some of the communication, some of the vision, some of the examples coming out, people starting to say that, look, we're not saying that what you need to do this year is have a fully integrated multi-party data ecosystem where everything's being exchanged, that runs across sectors and everything else. But you want to start the journey in the right direction. You don't buy what you would have bought 5 years. And frankly, I'm saying buy, but instigate, build, doesn't matter how you go about it. Don't build what you would have built 5-10 years ago and expect it to magically perform differently. When what you'll find is that you've again successfully proven that you can securely share between 2 organizations. Great. And then you'll try and introduce a third and it won't work again. And so that has to be an education piece. It has to be said, well, this is what's available now, and this is how it can deliver on what you need to do now. This isn't about getting technology that has lofty aspirations about what might be possible in an altruistic future. This is stuff that you can do now, today, that delivers on your needs right now, today. But we have to help people, they understand the why, they're starting to get the what. We have to help them on the how, because otherwise they'll adopt the how they've always known, that they're familiar with. And we know that the how of 5 years ago doesn't deliver the what that we need today.
I think that's a really kind of astute comment. And I might well steal the art of the now, not art of the possible statement, because I think that is really accurate and really true, because confidence is what opens doors for money, funding, whatever. That's what enables things to move forward. And I know, as you said, the community council is still very early stage, but have you started to have conversations about how the council can help act as that catalyst at all?
Yeah, so I think we definitely have. It's been a source of many conversations, and I think partly it's about making sure that we can share real learnings and insights and find ways to enable, whether it's under Chatham House rules and then having kind of outputs of those conversations shared more generally. But enabling people to share the good and the bad is important. Enabling people to make connections with other people is very important. I think the council, because of its diversity and its representation of the wider community, can help with that in terms of we're looking at ways to enable people to flag their issues, their problems, their concerns, not necessarily to everyone, not airing their dirty laundry in public, but can we find ways of matchmaking them in terms of, well, look, here's someone else who's been on this journey, who's seen it happening. And also helping recognize that engagement is coming from all corners. I mean, one of the necessities of getting the DT Hub to where it's been is that there's been a central driving force, an organization saying, we will produce a lot of great content and drive. But that obviously drives a behavior in the audience of saying, okay, well, we'll wait for you to produce that content and then we'll respond to the content. And what I think the council can do and the champions can do is start to say, actually, we can crowdsource that more, which will then further encourage others to share their learnings and share their pieces, and not just share in a kind of, here's something I've done, would you like to buy it? But here's something I've learned, do you want to feed back on it? It is a nuance, but something I think that we're working very hard to find ways of doing. And anyone within the community who has ideas on that, who would like to promote it, who's seen it work in other communities, we want to hear it. I mean, we're not trying to manage this, we're trying to help steer it, essentially.
I'm really hopeful that the new configuration with this industry catapult kind of cooperation, consortium, whatever you want to call it, can in time provide means by which to open up funding opportunities and really take some of those potential blockers away from people that may be preventing them from taking that further step forward. I think one of the other kind of potential core roles the community council can provide is that window into the community. And I've spoken to members of government before about how we can support them in this space as well. And what they kind of will in time undoubtedly want support with is that kind of think tank type piece. And while we can evidence where need exists, then that is going to be very informative and again help things that perhaps might need to be changed at a regulatory level start to transition and to move forward. I think I've got one kind of deliberately difficult question for you, Ali, because I think this is one of those emergent areas that I think is interesting for people to have some consciousness about. But the metaverse is obviously this kind of next big buzzword that's kind of being flouted around at the moment, with especially with Facebook changing their parent company and all of that sort of stuff. And I personally hold the view that the metaverse and digital twins should not be conflated together. Some people have different views on that, but where do you kind of sit in this debate?
So for me, it's pretty clear, which I realize is both arrogant and contentious. But metaverse has at its heart visualization, and digital twins have at their heart virtualization. And you know, the distinction is the metaverse is about how we as people consume. Digital twins and their ability to interoperate is about how things consume and interoperate with each other. We shouldn't need to see digital twins. We shouldn't need to look at them. And the metaverse is ultimately a consumption piece. Right? I mean, yes, you can interact with it, yes, but if you look at all of the people that are driving the metaverse, that are really, really pushing it, what they're talking about is visualization. You will be able to see this. You will be able to interact with this. This will be a visualization that you will get involved with. For me, digital twins are about enchanting what already exists. So making our everyday interoperate better, make it work better, make it support us better, without us necessarily needing to slip into a digital visualization to experience it. I also think they're linked, right? I mean, like the fact is that digital twins are about data, and at the moment, most of the metaverses are meta worlds. So you will go to the meta world that's owned by someone with their technology, with their pieces, with their goods and services, and you will experience that. Well, that for me is a meta world, and it's brilliant, it's great, and it has lots of practical applications. But is it really a verse yet? Is it really a universe that you're going into? I would argue not, but I argue that verse could be made possible by ecosystems of digital twins. I think they are tangential, but not the same.
Brilliant. I think that's just an incredibly kind of clear and helpful way to look at it. I think there's, yeah, as you say, there's going to be ongoing debate on this, I'm sure, for a long time to come. But I think the key is any of these semantic debates should not prohibit progression on digital twins. And what we really need to kind of to see is how we can enable that movement to kind of go forward. So just in the kind of closing 60 seconds, Ali, is there any kind of call to action, shout out to the DT Hub community you want to make or clarify around how they can utilize the community council moving forward?
Only to repeat that, please do reach out. We are not here as the oracles with answers. We weren't elected because we're the 11 that know everything, and that's great. We're elected for the representation we have of the wider community and our enthusiasm for what we're doing. And as a result, the reason we're co-chairs is because there isn't a single voice in this. Like, we recognize right from the go, even within the council, that we wanted to be able to share and talk and discuss and drive. And so the more that people have material, vision, things they can share, the more that we can learn from each other, the better. So please do reach out. If you can get hold of me through the DT Hub. If you want to read out directly, ali@iotics.com. Please reach out to anyone. We are at the point here. We are at this incredibly important moment. And the more we can encourage people to take part, the more we can encourage people to drive and learn from what has worked in other sectors. What has worked in other areas will be for all of us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ali. And thanks everyone for joining. I know it's not always that easy to find time in the diary, so appreciate each and every one of you for taking that time out of your day. But again, as Ali said, please do reach out to us. All of us are on the DT Hub. All of us are there and kind of waiting for messages, and they're happy to respond. But that's great. John, I know there's been a question from you. Please reach out to one of us afterwards, and we can help provide some guidance on that. But thanks everyone. Please have a good day, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers. Thanks, Ali. Bye.